Sometimes looks do matter. Hey everybody, this is Roberto Blake of robertoblake.com helping you create something awesome today. So today, we're going to talk about some ways you can make your YouTube videos look better. Video production is something that I'm really passionate about. You guys already know that since I've done like 1,000 online videos across multiple platforms. And so I actually am really into camera gear and I talk about it all the time. In fact, that is the content on Wednesdays. A lot of you guys who watch the YouTube tip videos may not be watching my videos on photography and video production and video editing, but I think it would actually help the far majority of you. So today I'm going to cover 5 tips for making your YouTube videos look better in terms of your camera gear and your settings. Tip number 1 has to do with your actual camera settings, and one of the things I recommend you do is if you want a blurry background, you need to actually be shooting at what we call a wide aperture. This means you're going to need a lens that is capable of that. These don't have to be expensive. Typically lenses that shoot wide are expensive if you're getting professional glass, but for $50, $80, $100, $200, if you're shooting on a DSLR camera, then you can get a wide aperture lens, something that shoots with the shallow depth of field. That's how I'm getting the blurry background here. Right now, I'm shooting at f2.2. Some of you actually have cameras in your phone that are capable of shooting at f2.2. So if you have an iPhone, then you might actually be able to shoot at a wide aperture and get a blurry background if you can adjust it in the camera settings of your phone. If you're using a DSLR like this, then a 35mm f1.8 or a 50mm f1.8 is going to allow you to do that. I don't recommend shooting at f1.8 because sometimes it can be hard to get something in focus and you won't have a lot of room to play with if you move back and forth at all. So I would recommend that you shoot at f2, f2.8, or f2.2 when you're doing that. That's going to make your videos look great. You're going to have the blurry background that you want. It'll look a little bit more professional. It'll isolate you from the background, bring more attention in on your face, and that could look really good in your videos. Tip number 2 is another camera settings tip. It is shoot at what we call a low ISO. ISO is one of the settings on your DSLR camera. This actually can help you compensate for the amount of light that you have. If you don't have a lighting setup, you might be using a higher ISO. If you're shooting on something like the Canon Rebel T3i or a Nikon D3200 and you're shooting indoors, there's a chance you might be shooting at ISO 800 or even 1600. What this is doing is it's making your videos have a little bit of noise and a little bit of grain. It may not be noticeable on a small screen, but on a big screen like a 27-inch or even on a television screen, it's going to be very noticeable. Especially if your background is dark or you're wearing dark clothing, this is going to show up. I recommend shooting at ISO 400 or ISO 200 whenever possible. If your camera is capable of shooting video at ISO 100, that would be for the best, but that'll probably be on a more expensive camera. The odds are the best you'll be able to do if you have a wide aperture lens is shoot at ISO 200 or 400. So just go as low as you can. Tip number 3, turn off continuous autofocus. If you've ever watched a video, even some of mine that I shot on the Panasonic, where the autofocus comes in and out and sometimes the face gets blurry or it doesn't get back into focus, it's because continuous autofocus is on. One of the other downsides of this is the fact that in your videos, that can make the little whirling noise that you hear from the lens being picked up by the microphone. And so if you don't want that, I say turn off continuous autofocus. What this means is you'll probably want to shoot with manual focus that you've already set up, or shoot with autofocus but have it set to single autofocus. Take a selfie with your remote or with a timer, and then that'll lock your autofocus in on your eyes or your face. It'll be tack sharp. After that, you just have to set markers so you don't move too far out of where the focus is set up manually, and then you'll be okay. So that'll stop your videos from going in and out of focus, and you won't have to deal with the noise from the lens. So just turn off that continuous autofocus, turn it to single server autofocus, and you'll be just fine. Tip number 4, use really good lighting whenever possible. The brighter you can get the lighting in your videos, the more options you're gonna have with flexibility with the camera, and that's gonna get you better quality. That's gonna make a huge difference. Going ahead and getting the lighting kit that I use from Square Perfect, it was $120. I have plans to make another $500 investment in my lighting kit because that's how important lighting is. That means that I can get the ISO even lower. I can shoot with different apertures. I'll just have more flexibility because I won't be trying to get the video as bright as possible in the camera settings. I can focus on doing it with the lights, which means I can do more with the quality of the camera settings being focused specifically around what I want the video to look like and not how bright it is. Tip number 5. shoot in HD and shoot in the highest resolution absolutely possible. If you can shoot in the highest resolution possible, then you'll have a lot more options. Most of my cameras are HD only, but I've been investing in 4K video cameras because even if I want to produce it in HD, it gives me more options. It gives me more flexibility for cropping. It means I can shoot loose. I can, manipulate things so it can feel like I shot it at two different camera angles. And so I really just recommend shooting in the highest resolution possible with your stuff. And if you really want your videos to look really smooth, you can shoot at 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second. I'm planning to get the Panasonic GH5 specifically because it'll be able to shoot 4K at 60 frames per second, which is going to give me much more smoother, much more realistic looking footage, and it's going to feel like I'm right there with you. And so I'm really interested in doing that a lot more. I've shot 60 frames per second in HD. I really want to do that for as much video as I can, and so a lot of my new camera gear is going to be moving in that direction and also shooting at the highest resolution possible. So I'm going to want to shoot at 2 and 4K going forward in the near future, but as long as you're shooting in HD, and I would recommend either 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second, your video is going to look tremendous. So just try and do that whenever possible. Anyway, I hope you guys appreciated these 5 tips for making your YouTube videos look a lot better. I might do a 10 tips video on this and start to include some stuff around video editing and other gear that you can incorporate, maybe things like sliders and different other accessories. If that's a video you're interested in, let's go ahead and get 500 likes on this video, and then I'll just make that next one for you. If you have questions about camera gear and accessories, just let me know in the comment section. All the camera gear and stuff that I use for my YouTube setup is in the annotation up here on the screen and also in the comment section below. So you can go ahead and you can see what I'm using and how to get the exact same results that I get in my YouTube videos. Anyway, like this video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out the other awesome content on the channel. Remember, YouTube tip videos are usually on Fridays, but my camera tips, whether it's for film or photography, are usually on Wednesdays, so you'll want to check that out as well. Playlist is linked up here. As always, you guys, thanks so very much for watching, and don't forget, create something awesome today. And now you can make even more awesome videos.